cannot believe I had gone through my entire medical training and there was an entire part of the nervous system, the endocannabinoid system, that just had no mention. And it's not a new discovery. It's like over
Yeah.
50 years old. Nobody talks about, the innate cannabinoid that we produce ourselves, which is anandamide, that utilizes this endocannabinoid system that we have. And we have all of these cannabinoid receptors all over our body. Why was it not talked about? It's just physiology. It's facts. We've got to teach about the endocannabinoid system. It's a ridiculous scenario that we're in where we don't teach about it. It's not in any of the physiology books. It's just crazy. There's no better feeling than having a patient turn around and say, this is the best I've felt in years. Or I can finally think about getting back to work because I'm feeling so much better. And oh my, I haven't slept like this for, a decade. So you just regularly get these patient feedbacks and you can actually see them getting better. A lot of what medical cannabis does is give people space to process challenging emotions instead of being absolutely overwhelmed and taken over by them. I see all these benefits and I want more people to benefit from it. I think medical cannabis has really opened my eyes to how a patient's understanding of their treatment can really improve and affect the outcome.
I literally said, I don't care if it kills me. Like that was what my mentality of cannabis was at the time. And, within days, I was feeling like good again. I wasn't having these head shocks from the withdrawal from the antidepressants. My appetite was coming back. I was sleeping better. I felt happier. I was joking around with my friends again. And I just started thinking, do you know what? I think there's something to this. And I was just like, I've been lied to.
Cannabis was used for a variety of reasons that could go from headaches to eating disorders. And it was quite systematically studied, at least since the 11th, 12th century. So it has a long kind of trajectory of medical thinking about it. Cannabis is a substance consumed particularly by popular classes, working classes, and has this kind of ambiguous place, which stands in between an intoxicating substance or part of the traditional medical practice. The encounter of the colonial power, in this case Britain, with the substance of cannabis is interesting because it starts this process, which takes decades, really, in which colonial authorities start to make cannabis legible. A substance that was initially seen as relatively obscure, exotic, not known, is being studied. People who use it are being categorized, and the scientific kind of writings are produced. Scientific, what I mean is, let's take it within brackets. Sometimes it's scientific, it looks scientific, sometimes it's quite racist, sometimes it's very derogatory, and so on. This could be perhaps seen in light of the evolution of global capitalism and the needs for capitalistic forms of life, I call them.
I think the initial thing was, has cannabis caused my Crohn's illness? I found out the opposite. No, this is going to help you. This is the natural way. And cannabis has been held down. Prohibition has been causing people irreparable damage in their lives. People have gone to prison for this. People have been denied access to it. I've written for the British Medical Journal about my experience with cannabis and what I use, and they published it. And the next week, they turned around and said, "We're going to do everything we can to support, further access to medical cannabis." So it felt like those medical professions kind of took what I wrote seriously. I go to my first appointment for a medical cannabis clinic, and he asks how much I'm using, and he's like, "What? That's excessive use." First of all, thank you very much for shouting at me in an appointment. But if you actually read the data, they're using much higher doses than that. People who have got serious medical conditions, but the evidence actually supports that. They're not reading the papers on the studies on THC that are available, and there's like 20,000 studies been published on THC. First, do no harm. If you're telling someone stop doing what's good for you, you're doing harm. And I think there's a bit of a culture of that in UK healthcare. The paranoia overtakes the logic.
Our son's really, really poorly. He's having hundreds of seizures. We just said, look, who's your best neurologist? Dr. Martinez. She had over 20 years experience. She'd worked in the NHS as well as private. She was worried about doing it again because she prescribed it to this other child, and she got a lot of flack from her colleagues, people that were quite senior positions within the NHS, sort of bullying her colleagues, peers. I think she was Colombian, and I think they were sort of saying about her being Colombian and giving these drugs out to these children. She was very, very worried. Are we saying that it's better to allow children to die than them to try THC? You know, if we put it into that perspective, it's more damaging to try THC than it is to allow a child to die. I mean, that's absolutely crazy to me. Why would you not just try something that helps? This set of people, they're children, they don't want to abuse these drugs. They need them to live.